This is huge, isn't it, Will? The Premier League champions reinforcing their ranks. They've agreed a deal with Aston Villa to sign the Aston Villa centre-back, Ezri Konza. Now, we reported earlier today that they were in advanced talks with Aston Villa. Now, Konza is someone Arsenal have long admired, but I think there was quite a big gap in evaluation. Aston Villa initially evaluating him for around £60 million. Arsenal have been able to bring that down to £51 million. And this is hugely significant, Will, because, you saw how powerful they were against Manchester City on Sunday, and you still look at the options they had in that position with William Saliba out. They still had Gabriel, Mosquera, Pierre Capier on the bench as well. But this Arsenal side under Mikel Arteta, it's another sign of intention to retain their title and also go for more. Ezri Konza, an England international we saw in the World Cup, coming off a huge Europa League win as well with Aston Villa. Just feels like huge news that Arsenal have agreed a deal for Ezri Konza for £51 million.
Yeah, and it's a big decision, isn't it, from Konza himself? Of course, it would be a massive move to go to the Champions, but he's leaving a Champions League starting spot to potentially, when everyone's fit for Arsenal, be cover.
It's a valid point, for sure, but there's been a huge summer of change at Aston Villa, Will. I mean, it's an absolute valid point that they'll have Champions League football, but they've also lost some hugely significant players. In terms of Yuri Tillmans, Morgan Rogers, Emi Martinez's future looks uncertain. And I think at Arsenal, you do have that gap with William Saliba out for the foreseeable future. Who knows when his comeback could be? It looks like it could be at the end of the year. And also, Arsenal had clearly been looking at someone like Konza or Ezri Konza as well, someone who can play at centre-back as well as right-back. And we've seen Ezri Konza do that in Europe, but also for England on that international level. So the fact he can play right-back, I think, is a huge strength that clearly Mikel Arteta wanted to reinforce his side with. But you list the defenders they have, at fullback as well, with Miles Lewis-Skelly, with, Ben White, with Ricardo Calafiori. The strength and depth is quite impressive. I guess the knock-on to this, and the question will be, what does this mean for someone like a Miles Lewis-Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri and Gabriel Martinelli? Will Arsenal now need to balance the books and potentially sell one of those big stars?
The New York Times here, and read this. This is from David Ornstein that says, Arsenal are closing in on a deal for Aston Villa's Ezra. The Premier League champions are in the market for a defensive reinforcement with both Saliba and Timber currently sidelined with injuries. The England international Konza, 28, holds particular appeal given his ability to cover both centre-back and right-back and has been high on Arsenal's target list all summer. Work is now advancing with Aston Villa to finalise the move after dialogue at ownership level to reduce the valuation gap for the defender. And another one of those moments when you read it and go, football clubs just pay the fee, just pay the asking price. It's stupidity. And by the way, I'm gonna go into this in more detail on this stream. These smaller clubs like Villa have got to stop charging other Premier League teams so much money. It's hurting their own PSR. And I run some numbers last night, and I've done about 4 hours of research into this. It's not fully formed yet, but we're going to go into why it's very important they start lowering those fees. And it isn't about helping Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea. It's about helping themselves. But this deal looks like it's going to happen now. Obviously, there was the links to Konza just the other day, but it does now appear that the deal will happen. It does now appear that this deal is going to be finalised and closed. And I want to know what football fans out there are thinking of this. Arsenal fans, rival fans. How good, how bad, how indifferent do you feel about it? Can't wait to get your views. Can't wait to hear back what you got to say. But my opinion is, I think he's a good player. I don't think he's Gabriel or Saliba level. I don't think he's Timber level in the right-back area. I think you probably put him into that same category as somebody like Mosquera, but with more experience. He's someone that's played in the Prem, I think, maybe not his whole career, but a large part of his career. He's played internationally. He's played European football, won a European trophy last year. And he also has a clear desire to want to join Arsenal. So he hasn't pushed for the same way that Isak pushed to join Liverpool last year, but it hasn't been shut down. There was always this feeling that this deal could happen or would happen, and it appears it's going to be happening now. And I think from that point of view, there is one of these things that you look at and you think to yourself, well, there is most certainly a major chance that this happens, and a good chance that a good chance that this happens. So I wouldn't be shocked by it. I wouldn't be surprised by it. I wouldn't be. This news doesn't come out of the blue. I felt like in the last week this deal was angling itself around. But in terms of the player, very, very good. Very, very good player indeed. Excellent ability, good defender, a solid member of Arsenal's squad. I think 60 million was always a bit steep for a squad member. It's what I'd classify him as a first-team squad member. So I wouldn't classify him as a fringe player. He'll play League Cup games. I think he'll play FA Cup games. He'll play some of the big Premier League games. In fact, he might start almost straight away in the team next to Gabriel, but he's certainly behind Gabriel and Saliba when everybody is fit. What's the deal going to be? 45, 50 million? It's probably, again, on the upper side of what it's worth, but Arsenal have got that money for those marginal gains, and it's another marginal gain. There was a lot of people that felt that when there was this element of like, oh, Saliba's out. Could that ruin Arsenal's season if they get another injury? Could they be easier to score against, etc., etc.? And it's one of those things whereby you can certainly see a vulnerability if they lost another player or two in that area. And Arsenal have just acted with precision, aggression, and aggressive precision, and just strengthen that area of their team. They've strengthened the midfield with Bruno G. They've strengthened the left wing with Zolas because he's going to be an output machine. And now they're doing the same with Konza. It's very hard to improve certain areas. So it's almost impossible to get a better centre-back than what they've got. But they've improved the department, and I think that's key. It's an excellent piece of business from a marginal gains perspective. It's a good to very good player. What now appears to be a good price for him coming in. I'd love to get your views. Can't wait to get your opinions on this, people. But I think this is good business. I really do, for Arsenal. In terms of the rest of that article, it goes on to say that Konza returned to Aston Villa's pre-season on Monday after being given extended time off for the World Cup. The Athletic reported on Friday Arsenal had held an interest in the Bayer Leverkusen defender Konza as they consider their options at the back. Konza has 2 years remaining on his Aston Villa contract, having spent 5 years there. And that's why I think they'll get the valuation down, because 2 years left at 28. Next year is 29. There might be a conversation along the lines of, he's not going to renew. You're going to keep losing value. We'll give you some money for you to reinvest. And I also think it's important for these smaller clubs now to stop overcharging. Because I was running some numbers last night. Because I've said it on a few shows. I think some of these smaller clubs, thank you. Some of these smaller clubs, I think they're overcharging. They're creating a bit of a rod for their own back. And my thesis was that as they increase the price of players, they increase it to a point where it's only really Premier League clubs, maybe Saudi clubs, but mainly Premier League clubs that can afford to pay those prices for those players. The problem you have is when they sell outside the Premier League, great. But the issue you have internally is everybody that's being bought in the Premier League within
Gabriel Jesus, because this saga has actually been building for weeks. Napoli have held a very strong interest in signing him, and according to Fabrizio Romano, Jesus himself is open to the move, with Arsenal making clear they'll only sanction a permanent transfer rather than a loan. The fee being discussed sits in the region of £18 to £20 million, a fairly modest number given what he originally cost the club, and reports suggest Arsenal are actively pushing for this exit rather than simply entertaining it. The complication on Napoli's side has been Romelu Lukaku, with the Italian club needing to resolve his own future before they can free up space and finances to make an official move for Jesus. There's also a lovely subplot here. Jesus' newly appointed agent also represents Napoli manager Massimiliano Allegri, giving both parties a direct line of communication that's helped keep talks moving. But according to the most recent reporting, despite all of that groundwork, it appears Napoli simply haven't been able to get this over the line yet, with Jesus, by some accounts, actually turning down the move rather than pushing it through. Now here's where things get genuinely interesting, because Martinelli's situation is running almost in parallel and he's shown the exact same resistance. Galatasaray had been linked with a move for the Brazilian winger, and Arsenal are reportedly open to letting him go too. But David Ornstein confirmed that Martinelli's own camp informed Arsenal he has